Okay, welcome back to TTA Pro Mr. O. فدلوقتي يا شباب بنيجي نتعامل مع EST Reading. Unlike the other tests زي ACT و SAT or Digital SAT أنا بقول طلابي لازم نقرا الباسج ونقراها كويس ونقرا تفاصيل ال details. However, in the EST test, it's not as mandatory. Okay? التريك كلها عايزين نلاقي طريقة احنا نرتاح بيها مش بيوفر لنا وقت وبرضه أقل مجهود. ده محتاج تدريب طبعا. So there are different ways احنا ممكن نتعامل مع passages. One of the best ways أنا كشفتها is نقرأ الأسئلة الأول. Right? نقرأ الأسئلة الأول. وليه نقرأ الأسئلة الأول قبل ما نقرأ الباسج؟ الأسئلة هيدوني فكرة على إيه هو المفروض أركز عليها. Because السؤال دايما بيظهر هو أركز عليه وأنا بقرأ. الموضوع ده رخم قوي. يعني إيه أركز عليه وأنا بقرأ؟ Right? It's a very weird question. So الquestions بيقول لك إيه هو عايزين نركز عليها. So if you go to the questions, which describes the narrator, right? So now دلوقتي لما أجي أقرأ عايز أتأكد أنا بحط في بالي how can we describe the narrator, right? Number 2, evidence. Number 3, lull. It's a vocabulary word. Number 4, بيسألني على main idea of paragraph number 3. Right? So again, باجي بقرا انا عارف اوصل paragraph 3 فكر في دماغي what is the main idea. وبرضه وانتوا بتحلوا you can write up here a small note, right? وانتوا بتقروا في actual test, right? For example, narrator. واكتبها فوق هنا على اليمين. في سؤال في paragraph main idea. بكتبها جنب paragraph number 3 برضه ده كده علامة بقول لنفسي hey focus on this. or مثلا بشوف line 26 and I circle the word lull. So I mark the passage قبل ما أبدأ أقرأ. So بيسألني على the main idea of paragraph number 3. Which is true. They had the source man. Again, هنا it doesn't give me much. But look at the evidence. So برضو I can mark من line 80 لحد 106. Right? So basically أنا بعمل map على الباسج. So هنا من 80 to 106 أنا بكتب number 5 and 6. Had this horseman. So I'm marking the passage, which is not mentioned. ده ما ينفعش يتحل إلا لو قرأنا الباسج. According to lines 40 and 45. Now again برضو بعمل علامة على lines من 40 لحد line number 45. So this is all called mapping the passage. So basically بشوف الأسئلة الأول وبعمل mark في كل line number أو كل الجزء اللي فيها السؤال. That way وأنا بقرأ عندي two options. وأنا بقرأ عندي two options. As I read ممكن أحل الأسئلة دولت. Right? As I read ممكن أحل الأسئلة دولت. Or هو بس علامة بيقول لي hey this part is important, slow down, اقراها carefully وأكمل قراية عادي. So that way number 1 هيوفر لي وقت من ناحية أقرأ إيه. Number 2 هيوفر لي مجهود مش هقعد أقرأ نفس الكلام مرة مرتين ثلاثة. Number 3 برضو بيساعدني في التركيز. بيقول لي hey focus here not here, focus there not there. يلا نبدأ. هنشتغل على passage number 1 الأول. I want you guys to read the questions first. خدوا فكرة عن ال questions. هديكوا 13 minutes to read and solve the passage. Sound good? Welcome, Mrs. Yara. 13 minutes to read and solve the passage. Now again, read the questions first. Now في عيب انتوا بتعملوها وده عيب ايه؟ نقراش خالص وبنحل على طول. That's only if you're a good reader. If you're a crappy reader, which you probably are, then افضل نقرا الاسئله الاول نقرا الباسج بعد كده نحل. عشان نقرا الاسئله ونقرا الباسج it should take about 4 minutes, maximum 5 minutes. اما نيجي نقرا الباسج مش بنقرا بالتفاصيل والديتيلز, بنقرا على اساس نلاقي بس المين ايدياز. على كل باراجراف في مين ايديا بنلاقيها اوكي جود, بس مش هخش على كل التفاصيل وكل الديتيلز. ليه؟ عشان ما اجي احل لازم ارجع واقرا تاني. سو كده كده هنقرا تاني وكده كده نيجي نقرا تاني بنقرا بقى in detail. تالت حاجه رابع حاجه عايز اقولها لكم, مش نقرا نفس الكلام مرتين ثلاثه. ما فهمناش move on. ما فهمناش move on. برضو when you're reading, the beginning and ends of paragraphs are important. اي اسئله قبل ما نبدا. When you choose answers, قبل ما نلاقي الإجابة ترجموا، وروا نفسكم فاهمين الإجابة والسؤال فاهمين التكست والسؤال والإجابة. If you're stuck. And if you're stuck between two answers, يعني معناها واحد فيهم half answer يعني نص صح نص غلط أو نص صح ونص ناقص, or unsupported. So be careful with those, huh, when you're stuck with two answers. Let's get this party started. Please begin. When you're done solving, ابعتوا لي في الchat. No, Ritaj, you have to figure that out, Habibti. You have to figure out where the third paragraph is. I can't tell you that. عشان the test itself مش بيقولك اللاين numbers يعني. Okay, Jenna's done. Okay, Taj is done, Jenna's done, time is up. Now, first of all, بالنسبة للpassage ده, we're discussing what Sleepy Hollow, it's a classic piece of story. Classic tale. Okay, sorry about that. So it's a classic tale. It's about ازاي واحد had this horseman. لو قرأتوا any piece of classic literature, you'll understand the story ده موجود, in a lot of places, right? So let's begin reviewing دلوقتي. Now there's a couple of answers مش عاجبني في الانسر key, and I'll tell you why. This is what makes the EST test not the best option, right? But Jenna, I see a 6. Ritaj 9, Riyara 6, Basmala 6, Yusuf 2. Okay. So we shouldn't, these scores should be better than this, Shabab, right? These scores should be better than this, برضو, right? Because انتوا عندكم skills وشفتوا skills بتاعتكم. That's the first thing. The second thing I also want you to understand is that, sorry about that, Mrs. Zoe is asking. The second thing I want you guys to understand is we should have made around 9. We should have made around 9. So دلوقتي مش هقرا الباسج ليكم, بس السؤال بقى, يوسف قرأت الباسج ولا لا؟
قريتها بس اتأخرت شوية.
امم
بس أنا في الأول أول 3 دقايق بس قمت أجيب ورقة وقلم عشان أكتب ال questions عشان تبقى جنبي يعني.
ما تكتبش الكويستشنز,
لا ما كتبتش
right?
questions اللي هو مين ايديا زي ما حضرتك قلت كده بس أنا
Okay,
اتأخرت
okay,
بس قبل ما
yeah.
أجيب الورقة.
Okay. So that's just a little drawback with working online is that yes, بتفرق لو بنعمل mapping للpassage, right? let's review مع بعض مع كل الإجابات هحاول أطلع لكم ال evidence. Now again, why evidence does make a difference بالنسبة لنا, إزاي بنوصل الإجابة صح, and then إزاي بنوصل أو ليه الإجابات بتبقى غلط. So let's get this party started, right? Let's get this party started. Just 1 second. If you guys have any questions, please just let me know. All right. Okay, so it's acting stupid now. All right, let's begin with question number 1. Which of the following describes the narrator? Now, السؤال number 1 جايب evidence بتاعته هنا. So خليني بس اكتب لكم evidence. Now, في students بيحبوا يبدأوا evidence الأول, في students بيحبوا يبدأوا question الأول. لو أنا معيش فكرة عن question ده, لو معيش فكرة, خلاص then I go to the evidence first, right? لو ما عنديش فكرة I go to the evidence first. Now بالنسبة لنا the narrator very clearly tells us, be that as it may be, I do not vouch for the fact, but merely advert to it for the sake of being precise and authentic. So he wants to be precise. He wants to be authentic, which indicates that he wants to be an accurately detailed storyteller. And the evidence here would be 17 through 20. So number one, نقول إجابة B and هنا نقول answer A. If you go to the rest of the answer choices, right? If you go مثلا to answer A, lost in past memories, وفي جزء كان بيتكلم عليها memory, right? I recollect that. So although فعلا بيتكلم عن memory, the main focus of the passage مش memories. So although there is a memory, you have to see الباسج كلها عشان السؤال بيسألنا بشكل عام عن narrator, right? It describes the narrator in the whole passage. So answer A is incorrect عشان although it is here, it is too specific, the passage, too specific. If you go a whimsical adventurer, now again برضو narrator عارفين, he's an adventurer, right? بس a whimsical adventure يعني واحد بيطلع بره وكل حاجة. وبرضه خدوا بالكم يجي بيوصف لنا التكست يوصفها زي هو مثلا historian, right? So برضه I wouldn't say he's a whimsical adventurer. Whimsical is like a dreamy adventurer, and he's not really dreamy, and so I wouldn't say that. And hesitant to recall the past, well, there's no hesitation. مفيش indication في hesitation. So هنا قلنا إجابة B, right? He's an accurately detailed storyteller. Now, like we said with the evidence, إجابة A, صح? It's very clear. I want to be precise. I want to be authentic. If you go إجابة B, بيتكلم عن past experience بتاعته, صح? I recollect. But again, that doesn't support he is precise. And 40 through 45, again, بيتكلم عن ازاي بيطلع valley and his personal feelings of peace. It's a detail. Well, 54 to 56 برضو he's dreamy, he's an influence. ده بيتكلم عن atmosphere mission narrator من 54 to 56. بيتكلم عن atmosphere mission narrator. So we'll go with answer A here. Any questions? Okay. Number 3, lull most nearly means line number 26. A small brook glides through it with just murmur enough to lull one to repose, and the occasional whistle of a quail. And so what does this mean, lull into repose? Well, repose means rest. So you're being lulled into rest. Duped يعني نصب, no. Reduce يعني يقلل, but we're not really reducing, we're not making something smaller. Convince يعني يقنعني بحاجة, but what are we persuading of, right? It's calm. And so calm, just to murmur enough to lull, calm أقرب حاجة, because we're discussing rest. وبرضو murmur, right? With just murmur. And something very, very soft. So I'm gonna hit you guys with calm here. Yes. Bismillah.
مستر ومش sometimes المفروض بنستبعد المعنى الدايركت ونبص على ايه اللي معناه بالظبط في الباسج في الكونتكست.
Yeah, ممكن نبقى نستبعد عن ال direct meaning, but ونشوف ال secondary meaning صح. You're not
بس هنا
wrong.
كده احنا اخدنا ال first meaning ال direct meaning.
أيوة عشان ولا واحد من دولت it's a secondary meaning أساسا.
اه
Yeah, it's not
اوكي،
even an
يعني هي
option.
لازم تبقى meaning مش لازم، يعني اقصد
So
ان هي بتفت المعنى.
yeah,
انا
well,
كنت
I think
فاكرة.
you're confused من ناحية استبعادي عن ال original meaning or the first meaning, okay? But it has to be part of the
Okay.
second meaning. What dupe, reduce,
Mm,
convince, it's not
yeah,
related to lulling.
sure. Okay.
Yeah, so I understand. So if you're just left with the original meaning, خلاص, you have to choose the original meaning. صح?
Okay.
Let's
Makes
go to
sense.
question. No problem, Adao. Question number 4. What is the main idea of the third paragraph? This is the third paragraph, yeah, Rutaj. This is paragraph 1, بعدين بديك space هنا, paragraph 2, بديك space, paragraph 3. So this is the paragraph. And so الباراجراف عامة بيتكلم عن ال aspects of Sleepy Hollow, right? So لو رحنا مثلا here. From the listless repose of the place and the peculiar character of the inhabitants or descendants, this sequestered glen has long been known by the name Sleepy Hollow. So in Willa, we're introducing Sleepy Hollow to you. Another thing I want you to see in 56 to 58, the place was bewitched. Okay, I want you to notice that with witchcraft. I want you to look at Masa in lines 59 until 61. Old Indian chief, wizard of his tribe. Right? Line 64, witching power. I want you to look at line number 67. Or marvelous beliefs. I want you to look at line 70 and 71, strange sights, hear music and voices in the air. I want you to look at line 77. No. I think I saw a nightmare. Yeah, the nightmare. So what is the main idea of the third paragraph? To outline the mystical aspect of Sleepy Hollow. You see all of this? Mystical يعني ليه علاقة بالجن، ليه علاقة بالغريب، ليه علاقة بالسحر، ليه علاقة الملايكة, right? That's something mystical. حاجة مش موجودة عندنا في الأرث بتاعتنا. And so you see all of the mysticism being discussed. All of this indicates mystical aspects, right? Now, if you go through the other answer choices, must to discuss how Sleepy Hollow got its name. Answer A. Well, it's true, but اتكلمنا عليها في paragraph 2, not paragraph 3. Wrong location, all right? Why is C incorrect? To introduce the Sleepy Hollow boys, they're mentioned. This passage is not about, or the paragraph is not about them, right? And D, to make it clear that those in Sleepy Hollow are the descendants of Dutch settlers. Again, it's mentioned, but that's not the point of the paragraph. So when you're dealing with the purpose of the paragraph, or main idea of that paragraph, it needs to be, الإجابة بتاعتي لازم يبقى موجودة في كذا مكان، مش في مكان واحد بس, right? So here we're gonna go with answer B. Question number 5. I think this is evidence as well. Yes. So I'll go from 80 until 84. The local evidence. 92 until 96. 100 until 102. And 102 until 106. So which of the following is true about the headless horseman? So we needed an answer about, the headless horseman. Now again, يا اما ممكن تلاقوا الايفيدنس الاول بعد كده تلاقوا الانسر or العكس. It depends. مش كل الاسئله زي بعض, so مش لازم اتعامل مع كل السؤال زي اللي فات, right? So we're gonna check the answers الاول. His apparition is a myth. Well, but his ghost apparition يعني الجوست بتاعته, right? But it's mentioned او بيكلمه as if it's true. It's widely believed في الtext. So it's not simply a myth. It talks about how people see him and people hear him and how people... So it's not a myth, right? Answer B, his grave can be found in Sleepy Hollow. Answer B is a true answer, right? And you're going to find the evidence from 100 until 102, right? Here, concerning alleged that the body of the trooper having been buried in the graveyard, the ghost rides forth to the scene of battle. Oh, hold on, let me see where it begins actually. Let me make sure I got the correct one. Yeah, allege. Right here. Allege that the body of the trooper having been buried in the graveyard, right there. So that his grave is in Sleepy Hollow. وطبعا لازم تفهموا context. انا ما اقدرش اقرا القطعه دي وافهم بيقول لي ايه, by the way. Right, I just want you guys to understand this part. So 100 to 102 بدينا evidence his grave is in Sleepy Hollow. وبيتكلم عن historian's allegations. So we're going to go with answer B here. وهنا نقول answer C. But let's go back to the other answers as well. Right? Let's go exhibit C for number 5. We give it D for number 5. And so exhibit C, he seeks vengeance against the people of Sleepy Hollow. هو بيدور على راسه, right? من 103 right here to 104. The ghost rides forth to the scene of battle, nightly quest of his head. So there's no mention of revenge. هو بيدور على راسه. Right? And he only haunts the valley of Sleepy Hollow. Now, 92 until 96 هنا, his haunts are not confined to the valley. So عكس. So here we're going to go through answer B والevidence احنا قلنا answer C. Do you guys have any questions here? Question number 7. في شك شديد في question number 7 بالنسبة لي. Okay? عشان كده أنا بقول لكم يعني EST it's not a bad test بس فيها شك. في حاجات دي فيها شك. السؤال ده فيها شك. وليه أنا بقول لكم السؤال ده فيها شك؟ عشان بيسألنا which of the following is not mentioned in the passage, right? اللي مش موجودة في passage. It's not mentioned. يعني حتى ما اقدرش اعمل inference. Okay? Now if you go one answer, هو في two answers I think you can get. Answer A with D. Now according to EST, the answer is A. The first settlers in Sleepy Hollow were Dutch. ممكن بس أعرف مين قال لي إجابة A هنا؟ وحتى الموقع أنا حطيتها إجابة A عشان ما نلخبطش حد أو حد يشوف الانسر كي يقول ده محلول غلط والهبل ده. عشان I really hate that, right? So I just left it as it is answer A. Now, بالظبط يا جنى. أنت قلت لي answer A جنى. في حد تاني قال لي answer A؟ قلت لي answer A ليه يا جنى؟ You tell me it's not mentioned. The first settlers in Sleepy Hollow were Dutch.
عشان كان الترايل اللي فاتت كنت بحل الباسج دي مع حضرتك ووضحت لي النقطة دي انه originally دي فيها شك شوية بس دي الإجابة في EST يعني.
So I have a problem here with this one. We had a problem برضو ما احنا حليناها مع بعض that the first settlers were Dutch and the original Dutch settlers, right? From the listless repose of the place and peculiar characteristics of its inhabitants, right? Who are descendants of the original Dutch settlers. So نيجي نقول original settlers we can infer they're the first settlers. That's why الشك هنا. اتفضل يوسف.
بس مش هو المفروض في النص بيقول ان هو اللي هو line 56 اللي هو some says that the place was bewitched by the high German doctor. مش المفروض ده اللي
Is
هو
this mentioned or not mentioned?
مم.
Which one do you انت تقول لي line numbers دولت ليه؟
حسيتها موجودة فاللي هي first settler هتبقى صح.
Yeah, but okay, so this is where there's quite a bit of a debate in my head at least. عشان انا باجي بحل I have to solve I'm بحلها كجديد. It's when you say the original settlers, it's inferred they are the first settlers. ولا أنا فاهم حاجة غلط, right? When you say, for example, the original maker of Gaza, the original settlers, it's inferred that they are the first settlers. Now, the thing is, answer D. I believe answer D is not mentioned. It is assumed that a high German doctor bewitched Sleepy Hollow. It's not assumed, right? And Zay Yusuf showed me here, some say that the place was bewitched by the doctors, right? Some say it was bewitched by the doctors, right? That means it's not assumed. It's a rumor. That means it's not assumed. It is a rumor. And the question is asking us what is not mentioned, right? And Exhibit D is telling us it is mentioned. No, it's not. They don't assume that it's bewitched. Some say it's bewitched, so it's not an assumption. A very general thing, right? So I did have a problem here. So D is mentioned من ناحية the belief, but D is not mentioned من ناحية it's an assumption for all of the people. So that's why I have a problem with answer D. And I have a problem with answer A. عشان first and original are very, very interchangeable. So I have a problem with this. The answer key according to EST is answer A. Where if I tell students the answer ولو شفتوا الإجابة عندكم هيظهر answer A. مش هغيرها يعني. You know what I mean? مش عايز اختلافات كتير, but that's why I say EST is not the best option من ناحية وضوح. من ناحية وضوح. Do you guys have any questions in this one? So according to EST, the answer is A. According to your answers, هتقولوا answer A. However, there is check for answer D, and there's a problem with answer D. Because again, it's not assumed. So, okay. Any questions here? Okay. Let's go to question number 8. Is this evidence? No. In line 40 until 45. Why would the narrator want to retreat into the little valley? Now here's 40 until 45. If ever I should wish for a retreat, whither I might steal from the world and its distractions and dream quietly away the remnant of a troubled life, I know of none more promising than this little valley. Why would the narrator want to retreat? Now it says here that if I should ever retreat, whether I might steal from the world and its distractions and dream quietly away. There's برضو هنا فيها شك. There are two answers here that can work, right? There are two answers here that can work. And what are the two answers? A and D. What did you tell me, Basmala?
I said D because it's more specific. يعني هنا في dream وهنا بيتكلم عن dream برضه لكن التاني ده general.
Good. So it's a tricky one. عشان هو فعلا بيقول عايز امشي ابعد عن الديستراكشنز, ابعد عن الدوشه. بس في الاخر عايز يعمل ايه؟ And dream. So he wants to get away from the world, يبعد عن الدوشه. So in the end he can dream. So D, specific to the text, بيورينا the final result why he wants to leave, right? Or steal away from the world. Question number 9. If you have any questions here. Question number 9, line 87, the word carried away. Right? Whose head had been carried away by a cannonball. Right? I mean, I don't think it's too hard. Removed. I think it's not too hard. Right? And finally, question number 10. According to the passage, the narrator mentions the battle in 88 as nameless, most likely to suggest. So عايز يفهمنا ايه من line 88, nameless here, and some nameless battle. So why does the narrator tell us this battle is nameless, right? You have to see what's implied. If I say a nameless battle, that means محدش يعرفها, right? This suggests لو محدش يعرف الباتل ده, it's probably a small battle. Right? Logical conclusion. It's probably a small battle. So here I'm going to hit you with answer B. نسيت أشوف أساسا الهومورك بتاعتكم بالنسبة logical conclusions. Do you guys have any questions in passage number 1? So this is a logical conclusion, by the way, إنك عايز أوصلها لكم the last lesson, right? So لازم نفكر, you know, well, again, there's that logical conclusion that's missing من ناحيتك يا Mrs. Jenna. عشان Jenna بتسألني, why not answer C? The battle is yet to be known. Well, the battle is known. عرفوا ازاي he lost his head in the battle? عشان if it was a nameless battle, ما كانش قال لنا was in a battle أساسا. That means his head was carried away, we don't know how, if it was yet to be known. بس هو بيقول لك in a nameless battle, in a specific battle. But the battle is so small, مش لازم نعرف اسمها. أو محدش يعرف اسمه. And that's the logical conclusion part where we were discussing last time. Any other questions here before we move into the next passage? ممكن تستخدم ال AI chat bot عندك يا يوسف for that? Oh, it doesn't بيظهرش في الامتحانات? Okay. Uranus معناها spooky, right? Any other questions? Okay. Now we're going to go right now into passage number 2. أنا شخصيا بحب الfictional passage في ال EST reading. أي حاجة تانية بكرهها. ولا مرة أنا قعدت في ال EST reading قلت oh wow this is really really cool, right? So it's a very very boring text for me. So that's the first one, right? That's the first thing عايز اقولها لكم. بالنسبة when we're dealing with the passage, okay? بالنسبة when we're dealing with the passage, number one, we do a pre-reading. So we want to do pre-reading عشان نجهز نفسنا للpassage ونفهم المطلوب بالpassage. So when we're dealing with pre-reading, اللي عايزاكم تعملوها, number one, I want you to read the blurb عشان تفهموا the topic الموجودة هنا في الpassage, right? Number two, you read the questions, right? A summary of the passage. What could be said about Luis Vaz de Torres? So مثلا ممكن أكتب اسمه. Some evidence here in 15 to 64. So مثلا ممكن أعمل علامة at lines 50 to 64 هنا. واكتب question 12, 13, Luis. See how that works? Question 14, بيسألني على 25 until 28. So I can just highlight here. واكتب لي هنا question 14. Number 15, stuck or struck most nearly means, again here, struck, number 15. 16, how do historians know if the Dutch have been in a certain area in the past? And then here, 64 to 106. So again, 64 until 106 الآخر أكتب 16 or 17. Big area, right? 18 بيسألني on line 98 جاي تحت هنا. Number 19, which of the following does the author claim to have been possible? So ممكن أكتب لي فوق هنا what was possible. And question number 20, the map supports which of the following ideas from the passage? So that's the way I have an idea دلوقتي, صح? One thing I want you to do as you're reading. Number one, مش هتفهموا كل حاجة. Number two, as you read each paragraph, actively look for the answers to the questions. So I want you to pay attention to that. So one way into ممكن تتعاملوا بيها, this is a summary question. So that كده saved for last. But for example, 12 and 13, that could be one of the first things I focus on في reading عندي من 50 until 64. I read this chunk to answer the question. 12 and 30. So this could be one of the first things I do. And also 25 to 28. This could be one of the first things I do. So ممكن أبدأ مع question 12, ممكن question 13, or حتى ممكن أبدأ ب question 14 الأول عشان ترتيب صح في الباسج. Chronological order. Right? برضو I can solve 15. So حتى this passage, so ممكن أبدأ من هنا. ترتيب chronology يعني ايه chronology ما اجي احل in order احسن من ابدا في الاخر هنا ارجع للاول مش عارف ايه chronology اسهل يساعدنا في الفهم, right? So what I should do is I should solve 15 14 12 13. 15 هنا, 14 هنا, 12 و 13 هنا. ده كده حليت 4 اسئله من 11, right? That's almost a third. And then now I can go to 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Right? And again, أكيد كلهم جايين فين؟ من بداية line 64 لحد 106. So this last part هيبقى فيه 16 through 20. And then finally ممكن أرجع لنumber 11 and number 11. So it should be 15, 14, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 11. Why? ده ترتيب الباسج. Why برضو؟ أول 1 2 3 4 5 6 كل دولت 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 of them have line numbers. So you can skip the passage. Skip is applicable here. عشان 8 من 10 أسئلة فيهم line numbers. بس المهم I identify هما فين في الباسج وبرضو أهم من ده أحطه بالترتيب. مش هبدأ هنا بعدين أرجع هنا بعدين أروح هنا بعدين أرجع هنا بترتيب. ليه؟ by doing it بترتيب بيسهل الأمر علينا في الفهم. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? Now, as you're reading, make sure you pay attention to the names of people, the dates, the places, the ship names, keywords. Okay. Any questions before we begin? Remember ترجموا السؤال والإجابات قبل ما تحلوا عشان تأكدوا أنتوا صح. All right, we're going to begin دلوقتي. We're going to begin right now. Let's begin. Time is up. Time is up. ومحدش بعت لي done. So does that mean we are not done? Right? Okay. Let's see how we did here. هطلع درجات دلوقتي. Jenny made a 6. Ritaj Yusuf, 7. Yara. What's up, Yara? 3. Basmala, I think you also made a 3. Yes. And Yusuf, 5. Okay. So let's do a quick review of this passage, right? Let's do a quick review of this passage. If you guys have any questions, feel free to just let me know. All right. Let's begin with question number 11, right? Which of the following summarizes the text? So دلوقتي here, the best answer is B. A Spanish expedition was the first to discover Australia and recognize it as an island, and the Dutch settled there for a period of time, leaving Dutch names in their wake. This is called a structurized answer. So basically, give a date, بدينا main idea number 1, main idea number 2, main idea number 3. صح? And we have a lot of places where the Spanish first sighting بدأ من line 28 until 30. Okay, this is where we talk about Spanish. The Spanish was the first to discover. And then the recognition of the island in 55 until 57. Okay, he learned that the new Australia was not a continent, but an island. And then Dutch exploration in names جاي من lines 1 until line 9. Okay, وبرضو جاية من line 65 until 93. So this answer covers big chunks of the text. وفي برضو من line 76 until 77. Now, لو بصيتوا على the wrong answers, right? لو بصيتوا, for example, على answer A, Pedro Q was the first to sight Australia, and one of his ships got separated from him. This is true, right? But هنا في lines number 20 until 30, بيقول in Spanish, they're the first to do it. So I think it was under Luis. He was the first to do it, not Pedro. Different Dutch explorers named coasts after themselves. This is true, right? This is true. Different Dutch explorers give named coasts after themselves, but it's too specific. صح؟ عشان passage مش بس على explorers they name it after themselves. And here, answer D, Tasman was the first to explore Australia. He's not the first. Who was the first? So there's a lot of people before him. Tasman أساساً جه قريب من الآخر. So there you go, eliminated. You left at answer B. Do you guys have any questions here? Okay, question number 12. This is a question evidence type thing, right? So هنا اكتب لكم بس evidence 50 until 52. 52 until 57. 57 until 62. And 62 until 64. So we have two options. ممكن نبدأ بالevidence بعد كده السؤال or evidence. It all depends, right? With that location, أحلى حاجة في السؤال ده من 50 to 64. a very limited and narrow location, right? So what could be said about Louis? So نبدأ بالإجابة الصح الأول. His explorations granted the straits in his name, right? And it's 60 until 62. He thus passed to the straits since named after him. Very clear and direct على فكرة. 60 until 62. So I guess the evidence هنحددها as 57 until 62. So 12 and Uli gave it B, 13 and Uli gave it C, right? People got this wrong, right? People got this wrong. He was known to get lost. That's not mentioned. So كده كده ما اعتقدش اي حد قال لي إجابة A. There's no evidence or mention here. إجابة C, he was the first to explore Australia. The passage states that the Dutch were the first to explore in 25 until 27. But though the Dutch were the first to explore considerable stretch of the Australian coast, they were by no means the first to sight it. So Louis was not the first to explore it. Louis was the first to sight it. Wrong there, right? And let's talk about Luis Lopez, مش Luis Vaz de Torres. وبرضه حتى الشخص غلط. So it's inaccurate information, it's an overstatement. And again, D, he did not seek wealth. Again, it's not mentioned. There's no evidence that Uli did not seek wealth. There's no evidence Uli did not seek wealth. So in Uli gave it B, and the evidence Uli gave it C. I don't think the evidence had too much problems. Do you guys have any questions in these two? Okay, let's move on. Question number 13 Amaneha? Yeah. Let's go to question number 14. Which role does the first sentence in 25 in paragraph 2 play? All right, so what is the role of this first sentence right here? I'll tell you the correct answer. I will answer A. It acknowledges a claim and proposes a new one. Right? So it acknowledges a claim, but though the Dutch were the first to explore it, that acknowledgement, right? الجزء الثاني بدينا فكرة جديدة من 26 until 28. They were by no means the first to cite it. So this supports the claim in the previous paragraph, بس بدينا فكرة جديدة وبيشرح لنا بقى بعد كده الفكرة الجديدة, the new claim. So it's a transitional sentence. We're going from an old claim to a new one, right? So we'll go with answer A. It proposes a claim mentioned in paragraph number 1. Well, this is too specific, right? It doesn't propose a claim mentioned in paragraph number 1. هو بيعكسها. It's going opposition, but, right? So I wouldn't say that. And then you have answer C. It rejects a claim. You're not really rejecting a claim. You're not rejecting the claim, right? This is a misinterpretation or incorrect analysis. It doesn't reject the claim that they were the first. It acknowledges it. Although the Dutch were the first to explore, they were not the first to see. Right? They were not the first to see. I wonder what that is from. So it's not rejecting the claim. It's actually reinforcing the claim. هنا نقول إجابة A. Question number 15. Struck most nearly means, line number 15. If the Dutch had struck the more fertile eastern shores, right? We're talking about discovery, found. I don't think this one was a problem here. I don't think this is a problem. Number 16, according to the passage, how do historians know if the Dutch have been in a certain area in the past? This is also evidence. 64 until 69, 71 until 77, 93 until 97, and 103 until 106. So how do they know the Dutch have been in a certain area, right? How do we know that the Dutch were in a certain area? Now, again, I'll give you the correct answer here. The Dutch would name places in their native language, right? Like here in South Africa, a lot of places have no Dutch names. And you have it from line 1 until 24. The entire first paragraph, Bediko examples about the Dutch naming things where they go. The prevalence of Dutch names. So I'm شكلم كتير for paragraph number 1. And it's also found again in 76 until 93. لحد الآخر هنا. Right? Leaving up to the present day signs of the explorations and the names of islands, bays, and capes. Right? Very clear, I think. I don't think this one محتاجة كتير right there. And we said, I think the evidence 71 until 77. It's actually this part. We found it here. Let me just do that. There you go. We found it right there. right at the end of the evidence, leaving up to the present day signs of the explorations, the names, kaza, kaza, kaza. So here we're going to go with answer B. I think this was pretty straightforward. Any questions there? I think it's straightforward. Question number 18. Seen most nearly means line number 98. It was seen that the southern coast of the new land trended to the east, right? Let's mess all the text. Let me get some more things there. Okay, I think here I wouldn't say examined, right? I wouldn't say examined. عشان هنا بيقول لنا that the context seen معناها مش حاجة بيشوفوها حاجة مفهومة. Something that became clear. Something that became clear. So it would be understood. The problem with examined, it's careful scrutiny. Too much. You know, examine, you can examine a cell, you can examine a body, but you can't examine the coast. It's too big and too much to use this word. But it's understood, يعني مفهوم الcoast kept moving to the east. Number 19. Which of the following does the author claim to have been possible? Okay. ما اعتقدش ده كان فيها evidence. No, here. There was no evidence here in question number 19. ما كانش سؤال evidence. I'll go with here. Australia would still be named New Holland if fertile lands were found. And we're going to find the evidence in this place. If the Dutch had struck the more fertile eastern shores of the Australian continent, it might have been called, with reason, New Holland. So Australia would be called New Holland if there were fertile lands, right there. The khema for question 19 is what? That محشور جوه في passage. So without reading the passage, you might not catch this, which is okay. عشان ده سؤال واحد. هقرا 200 سطر عشان سؤال واحد. No, the strategy we're using to save time is good. It just needs refinement, right? The other answer choices like the West Coast would have held more Dutch names if the Dutch had cared to stay. It is a wrong factor. It's not supported, right? It's not supported. المشكلة مش unattractiveness. المشكلة مش more names. المشكلة is if it had more fertile land, like more soil, it would be called New Holland. And finally, question number 20. The map supports which of the following ideas from the passage. Here, I'm going to hit you guys with answer B. If one looks at the west coast of Australia, one is struck by the large number of Dutch names. Each are jotted down in the coast. المشكلة انتم مش هتشوفوا كده صح؟ I'm sorry. بس ده الشبه اللي كان موجود في الامتحان. Right? And this is one of the main ideas of the text. صح؟ عشان one of the main ideas is Dutch لما كانوا بيعملوا explorations. Right here. The Dutch لما بيجي يعملوا explorations, they name everything after them. عشان كده بنعرف إذا كان الدutch جم هنا ولا لا. So you're going to go with answer B. The other answer choices, like for example, answer A, but still more important discoveries were made in 1642. ده بيطلع بقى discussion. مش عايزين نتكلم عن more important discoveries. وبرضه ايه علاقة more important discoveries with the Australia, right? We want our answer to focus on the map. مش عايزين نخرج برا المap. If the Dutch had struck the more fertile eastern shores of the Australian continent, it might have been New Holland. Again, we don't know this from the map. The only thing we can know from the map are the names. And the only thing we can know from the names is Gayamin Dutch. All right, guys. Great class today. We're going to wrap up. Any questions? Yes, Basmala.
مستر معلش لو حضرتك عندك فكرة يعني الادميشن تيكت بتتبعت امتى؟ عشان
But 3 أيام قبل المحاولة. We can confirm with our other classmates. So 3 أيام الشباب قبل المحاولة الادميشن تيكت صح؟
Oh.
Okay. I will see you guys Wednesday. I can squeeze in another session, but and more important is practice and review. Students اللي داخلين Friday طبعا هديكوا جدول مختلفة شوية عن students اللي مش داخلين Friday. Don't forget يتجنى بناخد إجازة. So الأسبوع بعد المحاولة مش هيبقى فيه حصص. Okay. وأفكركوا برضو أنتي ويارا وأفكركوا برضو قبل المحاولة يا جماعة مفيش حصة من يوم كذا يوم كذا، ناخد إجازة كده ونرجع fresh and relaxed. بس هيبقى في homework. Any questions before we go today? Okay, عندي سؤال قبل ما تمشوا. My website المفروض يبقى فيه اشتراك لل EST, right? Self-study students. أنا عندي اشتراكات كتير digital SAT. اللي أنا مش فاهمه EST مفيش ولا حد اشترك في ال paid service or paid material. ممكن حد فيكم يفهمني ليه؟ What is the problem with my website بالنسبة لطلبة جديدة مثلا؟ عشان كنت عايز أعملها زي you world. Digital SAT I have a lot. أنا مش فاهم دلوقتي ليه مفيش ولا طالب EST. Is it because هو فيزا دولار؟ تفتكروا عشان كده؟ ولا عشان الثقافة؟ Any ideas? Any reasons? Is it because مثلا it's a dollar visa $15 في الشهر؟ اتفضلي يا جنى. Just curious. No ideas. ما حدش عنده فكرة. Like if you saw the website بدل ما تاخدوا دروس و course, you can sign up to the website and you can study on your
الثقافة.
own. الثقافة. You think so, Yusuf? Okay. I'm just looking for reasons. عشان digital SAT have like 700 people. So, but EST is 0. وده بقى له 4 سنين EST website. ولكن digital SAT ما كملش سنة. الجزء اللي digital SAT ما كملش سنة and I have over 700 paid subscribers. So I'm just so مش فاهم what's going on. اوعى تقولوا لي ثقافة يا جدعان. يعني تقولوا لي شعب مصري مش اوكي. في
هي
فيديو
الثقافة. أنا
ريفيو.
أفضل إن حد يشرح لي أكتر من أنا أذاكر بنفسي.
حتى لو في فيديو ريفيو في الاخر الامتحان.
Yeah, I think sometimes you need someone to hold you accountable.
عشان أحيانا الفيديو مش بيبقى موضح، يعني برضو أنا ببقى واقف في بوينت معينة، ممكن حضرتك تشرح بوينت تانية.
How might I fix that then? ماشي. ولو مثلا يوسف انت قلت لي ثقافه صح، انت عايز حد يوافق على بوينت معين كذا كذا كذا، ايه اللي ممكن اعمله؟ يعني ريتاش، ايه اللي ممكن اعمله عشان احل المشكله دي؟ يوسف عندك فكره في دماغك او مثلا حاجه ولا مفيش حاجه دلوقتي؟
لا مفيش صراحة.
عشان دلوقتي على ثانويه
دي
عامه عايز اقول لكم دلوقتي عشان ثانويه عامه في موقع اسمه مش عارف اسمه ايه، موقع self study لطلبه الثانويه عامه and it works. So I'm just curious. So it's ثقافه. Okay, okay. All right. Thanks guys. I appreciate the feedback. I'll see you guys inshallah الحصة الجاية. Homework بكرة. You can learn anything. مش سامع.